The final of the Amber Springs and Ashdown Park Hotel Intermediate Football Championship takes place on Saturday, and it's between Horeswood and Fethard St Mogue. So a local derby down in South Wexford, and we have three men that might be in a good position to give us an indication on how this one is going to go. So Brian, what are your thoughts on it first? Taghmon obviously played Fethard at the weekend, and you played Horeswood earlier in the championship.
Yeah, Fethard are a serious outfit. They're well drilled and they're clinical, to be honest. They're a good side. They've serious speed in their forward line, and I always say in football speed kills, you know, and it's hard to defend against speed like that. But then Horeswood, clinical is an understatement with their forwards. I'd say, all joking aside, Horeswood probably had less wides, Fethard had probably more wides last weekend against us than what Horeswood have had probably the whole championship, because Horeswood bring it into scoring areas to get their scores, whereas Fethard create loads and loads of chances, and they'll take chances from everywhere, so there won't be much in it.
And John, before we ask any more specific questions, what are your thoughts on the two teams from what you saw with Magdalen Town?
Well, we played both this year. In the group we played Horeswood, and Fethard put us out in the quarter-final stages the week before last, and then I watched both games last week. Two very good sides, in fairness. They play with probably what you call senior mentality and senior intensity. I think that's a big difference between an intermediate side and some of the teams that have played at senior level. I think Brian just said they're like the two sets of forwards, there's probably, like with Horeswood, you have young, you haven't got young, but you have PJ, he's not young anymore. You have young Jamie Myler, you have, Sean Nolan, like county experience there, plus, youth coming through. You have, John Turbrit, you have Mikey, and you have young Keane Byrne with Fethard. So I think it's whatever backline can actually come out on top on the day. I think that'll be the big factor. I think, I know the 7-point difference last week in the Taghmon game was never a 7-point game. It was a very close game, and I think Fethard had to really go to the well to win that game last Saturday. So how much did that take out of them? I thought near the end of it, a couple of the forwards were sort of, tired and struggling a little bit. Looked like they were carrying knocks even. So how will they recover this week? I think Horeswood in the second half especially control the game against Cushinstown weren't pushed that far, so it might be that little bit fresher this week. So it's a really tight one, but it's a great game for everybody to go and see, the spectators.
For the neutral anyway.
Yeah, it's a great game to go and watch.
And Brian, you're neutral, but I'm sure there's plenty of rivalry down there between your own club and Horeswood and Fethard over the years, and I'm sure you know plenty of these lads. What did you make of the semi-finals?
I thought they were very good games. I thought both favourites in each semi-final, they were dominated a bit. I know Fethard and Taghmon was close, but Fethard were compact in defence. Taghmon struggled to kind of get the ball through the hands. They kind of reverted to long ball in, which was highly effective for them. And then I noticed Fethard brought on Darbarden at half time to kind of try and nullify that, and he did that, so that might be another area they can look at if Horeswood try and hit PJ early on. I thought Horeswood were very impressive in their forward line, really fast, direct, posed Cushinstown serious problems. They'll do the same to the Fethard back line, but likewise Fethard's forwards will pose Horeswood's defence serious problems too. So I agree with what the boys are saying. I'd say whatever backline copes best, because I do think both sides are stronger midfield up than midfield back. I think it'll be a very close game and should be plenty of intensity and hits in it, I'd say.
And Brian, when you were preparing to play Fethard yesterday, what was the plan? Where were you saying that Fethard could be, vulnerable?
Well, our plan was basically to stop them working the ball out so easily out of the back line. They have been playing Graham O'Grady, kind of a float and roll, and I thought he was outstanding the week before, and also Adam Swan. He gets up forward a hell of a lot. Now, we didn't have enough men to fix all the problems that we could have had, like Keane Byrne. We didn't have anyone to foot Keane, we had no one to foot Keane, and it was an awful problem for us. I think John said about the senior mentality. I think a big thing this weekend is both teams, they don't leave forwards attack, and they have a tendency of drawing black cards on themselves.
That's true, yeah.
Like, we'll say last weekend Horeswood got a few, and the week before against yourselves, like, it all depends on the referee this weekend, because that's senior mentality. They're clinical. They're not going to concede goals, So I think we were a little bit naive that way. We probably should have done something similar, but I couldn't call this one. This is going to be an outstanding game. I think it's probably going to be a game to watch this year. This is definitely going to be a great final. 2 sets of forwards there. There's bound to be big scoring this weekend.
And again, the same question to you, John. When you were lining up to play these two teams, what way did you see that either of them were vulnerable?
I think the league game when we played Horeswood, because it was sort of the third game, we were just going to it was like a free hit. We'd been down a few players this year anyways, we were missing a lot of players, so we said we'd just go man for man and have a go at Horeswood. And right up till half time, and we were right in the game, only a couple of points in it, but they got an early goal in the second half, and then, as Brian said, they're clinical when they get moving. They beat us by 6 or 7 points in the end. So we went, man for man on that. We didn't really go out with any real game plan except just have a go. The second day we played Fethard, we actually played a sweeper, and we were conscious of Turbrid and we were conscious of Mikey. Mikey was back, hadn't played a week before, and young Keaneborn as well. Not just the only 3, the other forwards are good players as well. So we played a sweeper, but we made 3 really bad mistakes, and we gave away a goal and 2 points early in the first quarter, and I think there were 9 points up at half time. We just changed it again in the second half, and we went at them like Taghmon did in fairness last week, and we ground them down. Now I don't know, was it our second half ever, or did they switch off a little bit as well? It could have been a bit of both. But I think like Horeswood won't play sweeper. I think Fethard are not going to change, so it's going to be an interesting stat how that goes. But the long ball worked really well for Taghmon last week, and Stephen was very unlucky. I think Stephen O'Gorman, he hit the post, hit a couple that just wide. I mean, I thought they got a lot of joy from the long ball in early ball, and probably didn't do it as much as we would have liked. So it'll be interesting to see. I'd say PJ Banville and the Horeswood lads were watching that, so I'd say that could be a tactic for Horeswood at the weekend. I'd say they might go along earlier than normal.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see from that tactical point of view. Like the remarkable thing with these two is their sets of forwards. So Sod's Law would have it that it could end up 1-4 to 5 points or something, the final score. But Brian, who's going to win it?
Be a tight one, I'd say. I'd say it should be a very good game because, opposite the senior, not as much tactics, not as much blankets, no real defensive side. Both sides going to look to outscore the other. Be attacking, be free flowing. I'd say I'd probably tip my hat just to Fethard. I'd say it pains me to say it, but
I think it'd pain you to say it the other way as well, though, wouldn't it?
It probably would. I'd say. Yeah. Very tight, maybe 2-3 points to Fethard. I'd say.
John?
Maybe I probably should have went for a draw. Too late now. No, I'll go Fethard, few points.
I suppose the old cliche is I do agree. This is a humdinger. It's a really hard one to call. Genuinely find it hard to call. I think it'll go all the way. I think it actually could go to extra time even. I think that's how tight it'll be. I just wonder, I thought Fethard had a really hard game last Saturday, and I just might took a little bit more out of them. Horeswood know how to win on the big day. They have that little bit of, when they get to finals, they know how to get across the line. I probably just going to tip Horeswood, I think, for experience.
Brian?
And I'm going to completely sit on the fence. I'm going to go extra time, and I don't think...
Hold on. The fence can't be sat on because... Just for people at home, the county finals all go to replays. That was decided a few weeks ago, actually, so there won't be extra time. So,
okay.
That's just for point of information for people at home. So you're going to have to pick one now.
Brilliant. I kind of half fancy Fethard on the grounds that they create so many chances, and I think they kicked a good few wides against those, but. I just think they create so many chances. Now, let's say, I don't think there's going to be more than a point or two in it. If I was a gambling man, I'd be going for a draw this weekend. I'll be honest.
Okay, so we'll
that's why I said extra time first time.
So I go with Brian's draw, and we have one each from the two lads. I'm going to split the deadlock, and I'm going to go with Horeswood. And I don't really know why. I think it's going to be a very close game as well. Just have a hunch for Horeswood. The fact that they won a football championship at intermediate, I think it was 2018. Fethard's last intermediate win was 1993 or 4, something around then. I know they've been in senior since, but just the ability to win a championship takes it an extra level. I think Horeswood might just have the bit of cuteness that they need to win it by a point or two.